Right now, questions remain over the battle between Atlanta's mayor and the city's now former inspector general. This morning, we'll get the Mayor Dickens' take on the issue. Also, we'll talk with one Georgia educator and the possible move by the White House that may have an impact on the state's classrooms. And from braids to extensions and other hairstyles, a new investigation finds dangerous chemicals in several popular synthetic hair brands. The health risks it could impose on you. This is a take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We start this morning with Mayor ANDRE Dickens. 3 years ago, he survived the runoff race and became the current mayor of Atlanta. Now he's eyeing another term, while issues surrounding his office have been swirling in recent weeks. Let's welcome the mayor to the show. Good morning, Mayor Dickens. How you doing? All right, we're having a little problem hearing you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to our viewers. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it, right? The work of the now former Inspector General who was looking into your office's actions. She resigned in protest. Here's what she had to say when she stepped down last month.
Our job is to identify fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption to serve this city. And that's exactly what we have done. We reported it to you, the public, because transparency and accountability matter.
All right, now this week you're saying that may not be true. Can you elaborate on that for us, please?
Yeah, Chelsea. So what you just played is a clip that you said was a month ago. And so at that time, the former Inspector General was employed by the city of Atlanta. And at the same time, we were sadly finding out that she had broken the law 50 different times. That was a shocker. So after she admitted to breaking the law 50 times, she quit. And so you're giving her a lot of airtime for someone to have broken the law and then quit. And she did not take the heedings of the ethics officer. She did not take all of the recommendations by the task force filled with judges and other lawyers. She did not take the advice of a city council that voted unanimously for rules to be changed to make sure that her office was indeed providing proper oversight. So the individual that was supposed to be looking for waste, fraud, and abuse actually abused her power and then quit. And so my office, as you know, Chelsea, since I ran for city council on a platform of ethics, always has been about integrity and ethics. And that is one of my 4 pillars as mayor, and we stand on that today. And so if the Inspector General, who had been in office for almost 5 years, when she was in office, before she quit, she hadn't found any wrongdoings in my office. And so if she had something, I assume she would have reported it to the proper authorities. But since she didn't have anything, she quit after breaking the law 50 times. So we still stand by our integrity and uphold the highest standards.
Gotcha. All right. So added this week, 5 members of the Office of the Inspector General was requesting whistleblower protections against any retaliation from city officials. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so a few of those individuals wanted to make sure that that there was no retaliation against them. Again, I don't have the ability to fire an inspector general. They have a board for that. I don't hire an inspector general or fire an inspector general because they're supposed to have a board for that. And those members that worked for her probably are also concerned if they were taking their advice from Shannon Manigault, who now has quit after breaking the law. And so they sent something up to whistleblower to get whistleblower protection. That is fine. I don't live out of retaliation. And so hopefully with the new Inspector General, we put in an interim in place because we believe that you should have an Inspector General. You think about it, there's 537 cities in the state of Georgia. Atlanta's the only one with an Inspector General, and I want to make sure that we always have an Inspector General, but that individual has to do the right thing and know the law and don't break the law or violate the rights of these employees, labor employees, these hardworking watershed management employees, firefighters. They're all afraid because the Inspector General was breaking the law and actually violating their rights. And so now the city of Atlanta is receiving lawsuits from individuals because of the treatment that the former Inspector General gave. And so I don't know if these folks are going to be eligible for whistleblower protections because that's a federal thing, and so they'll be able to find out from them if they do.
Gotcha. All right. Last week you served up your take on the state of the city. In one word, if you can, what would you say? The state of the city is?
Strong. The state of the city of Atlanta is very strong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. I imagine you got a lot to do, a big to-do list maybe for the rest of the year, 2025. What do you got to do left?
Yeah, so, when I came into office, we were in the pandemic. Offices were closed. Crime was high. If this was 2020 or 2021, you would be asking me about what are you going to do to bring down the crime? That's what people were asking me. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do, Mayor, with all these, people can't afford to live in Atlanta. And so since 2021, after my election, I started in 2022, and violent crime is down in Atlanta. You think about it, Chelsea, we have not had but one homicide since February 9th, and today is March 7th. Mm-hmm. We are living in different times. We had a 26% drop in homicides. We had the third highest drop in the nation because we use a balanced approach to safety and justice. We are working with our teachers and our school kids. We're working with parents and after-school programs. We're working with domestic violence advocates, people to fight back against domestic violence and give people the tools they need to help de-escalate situations in the home. We want to continue to do that into the future, into the next term. Mm-hmm. We've built or preserved almost 11,000 units of affordable housing towards my 20,000 unit goal. So we have literally, over the past 3 years and 2 months, have done everything we said we were going to do and did it with integrity. And so we want to do more of that. When we declared it the Year of the Youth, APS has had the highest graduation rate that they've ever had, ever. Mm-hmm. So this is how working together, drawing circles, working with the Atlanta public school system, working with after-school programs, working with nonprofit developers to build affordable housing, working with for-profit developers to make sure that we have affordable units in their homes, and then working with everybody to bring down violent crime. All of that stuff is a good recipe for a re-election, to do it over again. We have a AAA bond rating, the highest bond rating you will ever have for a city and the highest Atlanta has ever had. We got that in my administration through the good financial stewardship. So we're going to stand strong going into re-election. No one has said they're running against me, so we're going to keep it going. All
right, sounds good. Mayor Andre Dickens, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for being with us, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. You're welcome to the show anytime.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, take care now. Don't go anywhere, folks. We got much more for you coming up after the break. All right, welcome back to the show. Just 2 days after the Trump tariffs went into effect against some imports from Mexico and Canada, the president has now done an about-face, at least for now. Joining us now is NBC correspondent Alice Barr, who's been covering politics for years now. And Alice, we just talked about this yesterday. I said it seems like a trend, like he'll put a statement out, then he kind of backs off on it. We're seeing it again here. What's the justification this time for the pause?
Yeah, so President Trump made this decision to reverse a number of the 25% tariffs on goods coming in from Canada and Mexico after he spoke with Mexico's president and said what he said was a very good conversation. He's been very clear that this is not about anything that has to do with the plunges that we've seen in the stock market. He said he's not even looking at the stock market because he believes that this tariff plan that he's been putting out there is something that's going to benefit the U.S. economy in the long term. He has acknowledged there could be some short-term disturbance, but really says that that's not going to be the long-term picture. And again, he just really cited that conversation with Mexico. These are also specifically products that are covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement that was negotiated during the first Trump term, and it's only a temporary reprieve on everything from avocados to auto parts. Also, worth noting, about 60% of Canadian imports and half of those from Mexico are still subject to the 25% tariffs that went into effect just a couple of days ago. And all bets are off 1 month from now when President Trump wants reciprocal tariffs on virtually every U.S. trading partner to begin. So it's another step forward, but only temporary.
Okay, we'll see. We will see. Interesting move by the president last night. He signed a new executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve funded by Bitcoin seized in criminal and civil cases. We know the president is backing of Bitcoin, but what does he hope to gain out of this?
Right. So this is an interesting one. He's talking about this strategic Bitcoin reserve only being funded through Bitcoin seized in court cases with no additional financial burden from taxpayers. And he's basically saying he doesn't want any of the Bitcoin that's already in the U.S. government's possession, which is believed to be something around 200,000 Bitcoin, a much higher value than that. Though there's been no official audit, that's the estimate. He doesn't want any of that to be sold off, and he wants it to be kept, and basically putting it in this reserve category puts it into a similar category to gold and some of those much more traditional, assets that we think of. So certainly a lot of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency advocates want to see that happen. President Trump has been a very strong advocate for cryptocurrency, and he actually had a lot of crypto funders during his presidential campaign. He does kind of have skin in the game for this as well, and it comes as he's preparing today to host the first ever White House Bitcoin or cryptocurrency summit. So he's certainly stepping further into this realm where he does have economic ties, but where he seems to want to establish crypto as a more established form of currency.
Got it. All right, Alice Barr, NBC. Really appreciate you joining us and appreciate your insight. All right. Let's take a look at our forecast for today. We're looking at, temperatures milding back up. We were in the 50s yesterday. We had that wind out there. It was very, very cold. But now as we headed toward the weekend, we're starting to see a warm up. 67 degrees will be our afternoon high temperature for today. 72 degrees on Saturday. That'll be the better of the 2 weekend days. As you can see, our temperatures will fall off on Sunday as a cold front moves through the area. 50% chance for some scattered showers to be around. That'll be mainly during the morning. I know you want to get out to the hunger walk run. Well, in the morning, of course, it will be on the wet side. By the afternoon, it becomes a little bit more isolated. The run starts at 12 o'clock. So I think you'll be A-OK, folks, for the run walk. You're looking at 64 degrees on Monday. It will rebound as we head into next week with temperatures in the 70s for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. In fact, my pick for the week will be Wednesday at 76 degrees. All right, one of the areas of federal bureaucracy for President Trump's administration is the alleged looking to dismantle the Department of Education. This has caught more attention. It's caused more attention this week as reports surfaced that executive orders are being drafted and could be launched in the process. So here to join us is Verdelia Turner, the president of the Georgia Federation of Teachers. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. Let's start off with what role does the U.S. Department of Education play?
Well, the Department of Education actually provides access to education and levels the playing field for millions of children who are disadvantaged across the country. That's the primary role. But there are so many other things that DOE does. For instance, children with disabilities, their needs are met. We have occupational therapy, mental therapy, physical therapy, etc. Pell Grants, student loans, career technical education, also civil rights oversight to make sure that there's no discrimination in our schools. So that's the overall arching reason. In 1979, President Jimmy Carter signed a bill that actually created the Department of Education for those reasons. And so the purpose actually is to level the playing field and fill opportunity gaps to prepare our students for career and technical education and for the workforce. Beyond what we do with Title I kids who are living in poverty, and also services to middle-class families and students.
Okay, so give us your take on all this maneuvering that you're hearing about.
Well, President Trump is actually giving tax cuts to billionaires, and at the expense of our children and our children's future. Adults, all of the data that we've looked at supports public schools. Public schools happens to be the bedrock of our democracy. But billionaires are getting tax cuts on the back of our schools and our children across the country. We're so disappointed that Vice President Vance, who campaigned early in his state of Ohio, that his middle class and working class background had prepared him for public service, and he's turning his back on our children and our schools and services. We have to applaud the late President Lyndon Baines Johnson, who came up with Title I because he saw children in poverty. He taught them in Texas that didn't even have shoes. So this is actually robbing our children, robbing our schools to pay Elon Musk and billionaires. That's what it is in a nutshell.
Well, the new Education Secretary said in her confirmation hearing that only Congress can eliminate federal agencies. How much do you think the president can do on his own?
And she's correct. And it's going to take an act to come. So I think it was last night or yesterday where President Trump started backpedaling some on his decision just for an executive order to write out the Department of Education. But what we would like to do, Chelsea, is make sure that Georgians and all of Americans contact their congressmen so that this president does not intimidate them, can't buy them off, can't cut any deals. Congress must make sure that the Department of Education thrives and survives. This is not up to President Trump.
Talk to me real quick. If this were to take place, what would be some of the immediate effects that we would see on our education department?
Well, let's just talk about in Georgia, Title I, we're going to lose $653 million right off. That affects 1.8 million kids across 2,300 schools here in Georgia, where Georgia has a higher poverty rate. 16% of our children live in poverty, higher than the national average. We're going to lose millions in career technical education funds, millions, especially from minority institutions, over 85 million right there, minority institutions that of higher learning. Children with disabilities, their programs will be cut. English language learners programs will be cut. Counselors that deal with our children's mental state, that's going to be cut. Occupational therapy will be cut. All just flat cut out. Now, when President Trump says that education should return to the state, that doesn't pass the smell test. 90% of education is handled by our state and our local boards of education. So honestly, Georgia is going to lose right off the bat, just in Title I, $652 million. In Pell Grant, $1.4 billion. $72 billion in federal student loans. 1.7 million Georgians would be affected by that. 85 million cuts from those minority institutions that I was telling you about. 15 million to address the teacher shortage, and we have a severe teacher shortage. Let's go on and on and on. We also feed children when they come to school. Many of our children who are in poverty can't concentrate when they are either living in duress or homeless, and many of our children are homeless. We have right now 57,000 families who are homeless. So Title I and the money that comes from the Department of Education bridges that gap for those who are disadvantaged, and also provides programs for middle class families and loans, Pell Grants, and et cetera, for higher education.
Gotcha. All right, Bedelia Turner, President of the Georgia Federation of Teachers. Thank you for your insight. Really appreciate you joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good day. Plenty more stories when we return. This is The Take. We're back right after this. All right, a new Consumer Report investigation is raising some concerns about synthetic hair braiding. Tests show some brands contain chemicals that could be very harmful. Joining us now is James Rogers. He's Director and Head of Product Safety Testing for Consumer Reports. And James, right off the bat, I understand you led a synthetic hair testing that could be showing some harmful effects. What's your take on this study?
Well, we think it is a study that indicates that actually needs more study because we did do a small number of samples, but every sample seemed to have a problem with either heavy metals, including lead, or volatile organic compounds, some of these that can cause cancer. So we're hoping that this study starts conversations and leads to more investigation so we can identify the problem and hopefully fix it.
Why did you guys choose this? Of all the things you chose this particular issue, why did you choose it?
Well, this follows almost 90 years from Consumer Reports testing products for safety and contributions to health. Mm-hmm. And so what we did is we talked to a number of Black women, Black mothers, and asked them, what is the personal care product that you're the most concerned with? And artificial braiding hair came to the top of the list. Additionally, I have 2 daughters that use these products, and so I have a personal concern and interest to make sure that I can advise them what products they may or may not want to consider when they want to use these styles for convenience, for styles, for culture.
You guys tested, I understand, about 10 popular synthetic braiding products. Did you find the same thing in all of those?
Well, we didn't. So we chose the top 10 brands, and we chose the brands that the mothers group that we were working with told us that they use. And so we came up with a list of a total of 10. And we tested those, purchased them and tested those. Every product basically had an issue. So for the heavy metals, 9 out of the 10 products were positive for lead, which was really concerning at the concentrations that we found. And for the volatile organic compounds, every product that we tested had acetone, for instance, which is known to be a respiratory tract irritant. 3 of the products had benzene, which is a chemical that is so intense that it's been associated with cancer, and they actually regulate its use. Every product had a VOC called methylene chloride, again, another chemical that has been associated with cancer. And so of the 10 products, other than the 1 product that was negative for all heavy metals, every product had an issue.
Wow. What was the company's response when you told them about this issue?
So we always release our testing results to the individual companies and ask them for a response. Both of the companies that responded, which was Magic Fingers, I believe, and Sensational, they both basically said their product was safe, and they urged the consumers to continue to use them. But obviously, we don't agree that they are necessarily safe. Now, I do have to say that we detected these chemicals. We have not associated them with disease. So I need to be very, very clear. But we believe the potential is there to provide chronic harm to the consumers that use these products.
Okay, all right. James, really appreciate you joining us on the show today, and thanks for that report.
And thank you for the opportunity.
All right, don't go anywhere. My final take after this. All right, before we go, my final take, and it's here, folks. Yep, daylight saving time. It's time that we spring forward, send our clocks up 1 hour forward, and we lose 1 hour of sleep. And of course, the question is always, is this still the same purpose that was originally intended for? No. Yeah. Even thoughts of preserving energy because of the longer days has not been proven. What we do know is a lot of people complain about losing 1 hour of sleep. Studies have shown the health effects from the switch. Maybe it's time to seriously consider just keeping standard time. But I'm sure people will find another reason to complain about that. It's just 1 hour, folks. Yeah, consider going to bed 1 hour earlier. It's here to stay, at least for now. There are some federal paperwork being done, but it hasn't been proven yet. So until then, we got to keep the switch up. Until November, enjoy daylight savings time, folks. Have a great weekend.